who's a self-made millionaire right now who dropped out of college?
A self-made millionaire right now who dropped out of college? Jay-Z. I can go on for days.
Jobs.
The Rock. I do hate that example. I'm gonna tell you why.
Hold on.
Go.
Let me finish and then you tell me.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't believe that college is the answer, but I do believe that college is a calling for people that I don't know, it's so hard to even put this into words, but basically there's people out here that need college.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have everything that they got, and then the college is literally what they, you know, and then for me, it's like I want to be the selfish nigga that like, hey, you don't have to do the college route. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
With the power of your voice and your knowledge and just communication and just the power of America and this country, honestly, and technology and YouTube and just our own psychology, I believe that you don't need the college route.
Okay, so just
that someone could really go this fucking just anti-college and go and become the next Steve Jobs without going to college. So I know that, damn, I'm really stubborn and I could be holding myself back 10 years from not going to college, but if I only got one life and you only got one life, I want to live my life fuck it, I'm going to be the hard-headed nigga. Fuck the college route. I'm going to go out there and make some noise with my body and my life.
Listen,
and become self-made without the degree.
I definitely feel
then you. Go back and get the degree when I'm made.
I definitely feel you.
And then go back and get it.
The only thing now, so let me. I don't want to go too long. I got something to do.
Because if we're talking business,
but
all those colleges, those are businesses.
So let's
talk. How much money the NCAA makes.
So let's just talk real quick about the whole Steve Jobs. Let me do the Steve Jobs example, and then I'll come back to the college. So the Steve Jobs example, Bill Gates example, the Mark Zuckerberg example. I hate those examples of billionaire. Elon Musk. Elon Musk finished school.
He finished college.
Yeah. He has like 5 degrees.
Oh.
Yeah, he. But
that explains a lot.
Yeah. But like, how
I feel like I'm contradicting myself saying a statement like that.
I just no, and it's not your fault. I'm not blaming you or anything like that. It's just cause I've heard this argument my whole life. My father even had this argument.
This is
I'm gonna
right here.
I'm gonna talk to you from a standpoint of my father. Hold on, my fault. I'm gonna talk to you from the standpoint of my father and kind of because that's how he kind of did it, and I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna keep it all the way 100 right now, and just tell you why this is it's a very dangerous game that can be played, and there's 2 ways it can go. And I'm telling you this not out of like, again, right. If you believe it, I'm gonna stop you. I just want you to hear another side and tell you what the outcome could be when you're 45, because I'm telling you, my father's already done that, and I'm telling you, it just.
You're not going out like that.
So basically, let me start here. So the Steve Jobs example and the Bill Gates example. Yes, they dropped out of school and they made it with an idea, but what everybody forgets is these people went to elite schools. A lot of them come from middle class homes. A lot of them have had they're white and they have a better setup of life than everyone in this room right now. They come from a place where their family owns property, which you can also take loans out on those properties to start businesses, right. et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
They come from a place where they've done it and got help with it because they
come
are
from
more
a land of head starts, where in the projects they none of that.
You don't own anything in the project, so you can't get a loan out.
And
this goes back to what we had 2 weeks ago. Right. We had this discussion already.
Niggas don't have credit. Right.
There you go.
Right.
You don't have any. You have nothing. You have no assets to loan against in case you want cash or anything. Let's say like right now, my grandparents own a house. $350,000 house in Virginia. Great grandparents.
Mm.
That house now, when they die, carries on to my grandmother or my grandfather, somebody in my family where we can always go back to that. And with the money they've put into that house, they have 36 years and say, hey, I want to get a loan out against us to start a business. A lot of people who come from the places that and who look like this and come from the places that come from don't have those things.
Do not have those opportunities.
Now, that's the Bill Gates example, right? And that's why the Bill Gates billionaire example. And also, if you take people take those 4 billionaires and say, oh, I don't have to do it, but yet there's a whole bunch of other billionaires that did finish school, like the owner of Dell. He started his company in school fixing computers. I can't remember his name, but he was the CEO of Dell. He's still the CEO of Dell. You can look him up. His story's really good. Who else would I put in that category? You can go Oprah Winfrey. You can go Robert, the guy who donated like $300 million. $300 million to black HBCUs. All these people finished school, and I just don't want people who hear that to think that it's because you pick 4 people out the 100.
Right. Bro, honestly, for the first time in my life, I'm getting put on to this.
And
this is eye-opening for me.
Like,
I'm seeing a different angle.
I feel like black people do give those say that, and it's a very hood stigma that comes from that. My dad even said that a few times because he didn't go to school. He believed that. And now let me tell you my dad's story real quick. Okay. My dad started his business at 19. Now my dad is a very.
I already want to know everything because that's.
I'm gonna give you it all. There's a good and there's a bad.
19 years old.
There's a good. Now keep in mind, my dad was also a drug dealer at one point, but he wasn't a drug dealer that was trying to be a drug dealer. He was a drug dealer who owned nightclubs in Virginia.
So was St. Patty.
He owned businesses. Like this is not a 19-year-old. Keep in mind the legal age is 21 to drink. He had a liquor license at 19 to sell liquor. You have to be 21 to drink. Like this is not a person that wanted to sell drugs or was into it for the drugs. He was into it for the business, and that's really what he was into it for. He ran his own business from.
You talking power, right?
Of course, yeah. You can say it, on this very small, very smaller version, but very similar. So. From 19 to like 24, he ran a business. He almost got locked up. Luckily, because he has a good family, and they can't. Again, this goes back to our thing that we talked about last week, Ray, where you can take out money on when your family gets locked up and you own property, and you can get the best lawyers you have. Where if you
family that own property out in the South, I'm sorry.
No, you good. But when you do that, they can take out loans on those properties. They can have those properties refinanced. If let's say one of your family members, like my dad in this case, almost got locked up. Almost did serve some time for selling some dope.
It's crazy.
And luckily, he has a good family that loves him very much that was able to take out liens against the house to help him get a good lawyer. And the lawyer helped him get off and only have to do probation. Luckily. Did probation, got done with the drug thing. I mean, he was hustling weed for a little bit, but that was it. That's when he came to New York, got into the music scene, and then he started making clothes for rappers. I don't know if y'all know,
That's pretty dope.
Real dope. Like he makes Sherlin jackets. Like we're talking about like very high fashion Sherlin jackets. He was making good money doing it. Decent money. This is a man who started over. So this is around 25, 26 he started doing this.
So,
my grandfather ended up taking out $100,000.
I support all entrepreneurs.
My grandfather ended up taking out $100,000 lien against his house to refinance it and gave it to my father to start his business. Great. Worked out. So on and so forth for a while. He was selling clothes to rappers. Jim Jones is a good friend. Ghostface Killah is a good friend.
Hey.
I grew up knowing Sticky Fingers. I don't know if you know Sticky.
Yeah, I know
grew up,
Sticky.
That's like my uncle. Real talk, like.
Y'all know Def Jam fight for New York?
Yeah, exactly. So this is around the time like he like Sticky. He goes out to see Sticky and Cali all the time. They still
That's like
good
my favorite
friends.
character in the game.
Yeah, like
that nigga like that.
Onyx, like yeah, like. You know, so what I'm saying, it's really coming from a true place, and he does a great job. But the problem where he messed up and mismanaged things was the fact that he had no clue of business. So he was spending money on things like he was spending money to just re-up and do it all over again. And the clothing thing. He had no idea, I don't think, how hard it is, and honestly how difficult that business is. He didn't take the time to learn the business, to actually study the game of business. He got in without going to school for the 4 years, without actually learning, because in his mind, he said, oh, I don't need school. I can just make the money and do this.
Right.
And that's great and all. But the thing is, the people who are really doing the business, the Polos, these people, they all went to college. They all learned the business. They all actually worked for each other. The Ralph Lauren worked for a clothing company. My father has never spent time learning from a clothing company. So how do you just jump in this market of clothing without learning the business of clothing? That being said, you follow later on down the line. He's like I said, he makes decent money. Luckily, he opens up, during when I was around 8, 9, he opens up a coffee shop. Boom, great. Now he has a coffee shop, which was on Sugar Hill. Sugar Hill, right below St. Nick.
We not from
I'm bugging.
We not from out here.
My fault. Sugar Hill's on 145th, and it's like if you know it, you know it.
Right.
Opened up a coffee shop that worked for a little bit, but sadly, what took over was Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. They moved right across, so we had to close the shop. But it was an amazing shop. We had jazz on Fridays, like a real black store that people love to come to. And it was in the wrong neighborhood because this neighborhood was changing. That's when gentrification started. So our business wasn't able to sustain itself because all these major corporations started coming in and taking over. So we had to close our shop. But it was an amazing place. But if you would have learned, again, it all goes back to the knowledge of business. You have to learn the business that you're going to get into. So fast forward a couple of years later, now so this is around high school, and his business really ain't working that well at this time. He's not selling the way he was when I was a little kid. He's not making real good money anymore. And now he had nothing to fall back on. Him and his wife got to whatever. Ended up, him getting a divorce, and now he's living with my grandmother. He's 40-something. All because through the years he feels, and we have this argument all the time, and I still tell him to go back to school, but all because he has this pride thing where it's I am too good to go to school because I've done all of this. But it's like all the stuff you've done. That's great, but it was never successful to the point where you were able to live off it and give it to your children.
Right.
This is why school is so important because worst comes to worst. When it is time for you to be 45, you either have one or two things. You probably have a pension because you probably work somewhere. So you have some money saved. You have some money left over that's collecting and you can take it out, give it to your kid, whatever. If you want to start a business, you have the knowledge of business in general, because you have to take a business 101 course when you get a business degree. You have the knowledge of business. If you work for somewhere and do an internship, you have the knowledge of the business that you're probably going to get into or that you want to get into. And you learn the game. And you also make connections. And I'm not telling nobody to not focus on their dreams and not go. All I'm saying is if you don't have a solid plan that's going to listen, I just want to I want to tell everybody this. So in case you do turn 45 and you're like, damn, what the fuck happened? Why didn't I listen? Yeah. You at least got the option to listen. Now, I'm not telling you have to go this way. I'm not forcing it down anybody's throat. I just want to give. I try to give everybody the other side so they never have to say to themselves, I've never heard the other side of why it's so important. And this is why he had forced me to go to school. And when I went to school and started talking to people, I started to understand why education is so important. First of all, if you're coming from being broke already, school is the easiest way to change your life, to change your outcome of what life will be. I generally, this is a statistically proven thing. You can look it up. Forbes have done articles about this. For people who come from low-income areas, school is the easiest way for the majority of people to make it out of the circumstances that they're in. If you come from low-income areas. It's not the only way, but it's
got to be one of the,
It's not the, I'm not saying it's the only way because you can rap, you can go to NBA, but it is the most likely way that you will make it out of being this, coming from the area that you come from, where you can change your family's lives. Right.